it down a notch if it's feeling too vigorous for you. So coming to a comfortable stance, not quite yet finding your mountain pose, and you're going to see me, I'm more comfortable externally rotated and hanging out a little bit wider, but you might be more comfortable with feet closer together. You might be more comfortable with feet fairly touching, so that will be up to you. And as we come to comfort, I'm going to ask you to give yourself some wiggling side to side. So we want to release more than solidify, if that makes sense. So just a little rocking side to side. You can get a little deeper with knees too. And if you want to add a little bit of wiggle and a little bit of shake through those shoulders, or soft shake no and nod yes. And then do come to this comfortable place with soft knees, released, relaxed shoulders, and just taking a nice deep inhale in. And as we exhale, we release it out the mouth, and just maybe that longer exhale. We'll do that 2 more times. A nice deep inhale in, and a longer exhale. 1 more time. Inhaling. And exhaling. We're going to begin with some breath today. Then we'll find our mountain pose. Then we're going to flow. It's a little different order than we might be used to. I'd like to think about, for you to think about 3 different areas where breath can travel. So we're thinking belly, we're thinking chest, and maybe neck or nose, if that's helpful. So belly, chest, neck or nose. We're going to do breath of joy today, and breath of joy is one of the breaths that helps energize us. So normally we're practicing breath that stimulates our rest, relax, and restore the parasympathetic nervous system. We're going to kick it over to the sympathetic nervous system, but this is really an energizing breath. And we're thinking about 3 places to inhale. It is a 3-part breath, but it's a continuous inhale. The first third of the breath, we inhale into belly. The next third of the breath, as we're breathing in, we inhale to chest. And that final area somewhere, face, neck, collarbone, throat area, is that final deepest capacity of the lungs. So we're going to practice that first, then we're going to add in some arms. It is possible today that you would prefer to do your own breath practice. And so as boys, you're invited to do that if that makes more sense for you. So when we're ready, we're going to fully exhale. Fully exhaling. We'll inhale just to belly. Next third, chest. Full breath capacity, face. And we exhale with a ha. We inhale. One more. Just back to normal breathing. We're going to do a series of these breaths where we go about 3 in or 4 in, depending on how we're feeling. And then we come back to normal breath for 2 or 3. The arm movements begin like this. It's a little bit like we're conducting. So the first third, arms reach up. Next third, arms reach out. Last third, they reach all the way to the ceiling. And as we exhale, we allow ourselves to soften knees and round forward. So we'll rise up first third, second third, full capacity, exhale. Let's see if we can add it all together. Standing tall, we'll take that initial exhale. We add in arms first third. One more. Rise back up. 2 or 3 regular breaths, noticing if it's making you dizzy, noticing if you're feeling out of breath or anything is feeling clicky. Perhaps you don't use arms, perhaps you only use arms. Don't worry about that third breath. Maybe you're just breathing. We're going to do 1 more round for 4 breaths. Breath of joy. Here we go. Fully exhaling. We inhale. One more. Rise back up. Let's begin to scoot our feet a little closer together. Inner edges are parallel. Grounding through those feet, soft knees, giving shoulders a little shrug or a little rounding forward. And take a moment, shake the head, and see then if we can settle in to our mountain pose. We're going to build it from the bottom up. So noticing those soles of the feet, if it's helpful, you might roll forward and back or inside and out. Feeling the strength of those shins, knees, and thighs as they help you grow longer and stronger. Maybe even a slight tuck to the pelvis as the belly draws in a little deeper. Length through the spine all the way to the chin, or we could think about the roof of the mouth, which is really the very top of the back of the spine. Might feel good to draw shoulders up, back and down, and then letting everything settle here as you reach the crown of your head just a little longer and taller through the ceiling. Palms can face forward, they can face the thighs. What feels best to you this morning? When we do breath of joy, we're gaining some prana, life force energy to make it available for our practice. It's also a great breath if you're feeling lethargic or tired or not necessarily as motivated as you would like to be. Breath of joy gives us that energy to get through our day. So as you are resting here in mountain, just take a moment. One of my favorite phrases I've heard lately from, I have to credit Hala Corey for this, who teaches trauma-informed yoga, is what's the weather like inside? Stormy, sunny, cloudy. Noticing how you're feeling internally. And if not a lot is coming up in your awareness or your notice, invite yourself to be with that. Maybe it's not sensation, maybe you're having emotions or thoughts. And noticing, if we can, with curiosity, any of those. This awareness of our internal experience guides us through this whole practice today. Because we're going to be moving a little bit more, holding our poses less long, we may want to make adjustments, and know that if you're feeling like, wow, I need a break, you can always come back to mountain pose, back to this recentering, this refocus into symmetry, and maybe just physically a chance to catch your breath. We're going to begin very traditionally using our sun salutation to actually warm up the body. So when you're ready, bringing palms to heart, I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me. Well, inhale, fingertips rise up, not quite a back bend yet, just that arm stretch. Soft bent knees or swan dive, it is up to you as we dive forward. Placing hands on shins or thighs, we halfway lift or into that nice flat back. As you exhale, release back down. See if you can look through those legs, arms reach wide, rise back up. Now, as hands come to heart, know that we're going to do this about 7 more times. So as we start to be able to predict, inhale, rise up, exhale, dive, and find this repetition, we're going to see if we can focus a little bit more deeply on the breath. We inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Arms reach wide. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, hands come to heart. 6 more times. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soften knees, rounding forward. Inhale, press to halfway lift. Exhale to release back down, arms reach wide. Inhale, rise, back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. 5 more times with a focus on breath. Inhale into expansion. Exhale into release. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, release to stretch that back side of body. Inhale, rise, back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soften, knees dive forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Maybe on this round, we notice the sound of the breath. Inhaling. Exhaling, dive forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide as we inhale, rise. Back up, 2 more. Exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soften, knees dive forward. Inhale, lengthen through spine. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide. Inhale, rise, back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Last time. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soften knees. Inhale, halfway lift. This time as we exhale, letting head go. Maybe fingertips reach towards the floor. Perhaps we grab hold of opposite elbow, pausing here in your forward fold, giving your head a nice little shake no, and a good nod, yes. When you're ready, we're gonna plant hands. You can step, hop, walk, or jump back into your first down dog. Now, some of us are gonna go into down dog. Some of us are gonna modify, and I just wanna show you what that looks like. We'll be here for 5 breaths. Maybe you come down to knees and reach hands over. Maybe we're on elbows and tailbone reaches up. You might be in child's pose while we're in down dog, breathing fully. This reset of our spine, the energetic components along the spine. We'll do 1 more breath here. When you're ready, we're going to come down to knees and send your left foot forward. Left foot comes forward. We're going to stretch that right leg first. We'll rise up into cactus arms. So just a reminder, if balance is challenging, this front foot can heel toe itself out wider if you're feeling a little bit tricky through that balance. Now our movement here that we're going to repeat, we'll come into cactus arms, and then we'll take a little dive forward. My hands might reach the floor as I straighten my front leg. Now an option as you rise up is to keep hands on knee, and then letting those hands guide that leg as you straighten. So coming to our cactus arms, this is an inhale. As we exhale, straightening front leg, diving forward. We're also rocking the body. Inhale, rocking the body back and forth. Exhale, dive forward, inspires a relaxation response through the inner ear communication. Inhale up. Exhale. 1 last time, flowing through, inhaling. And exhale. Inhale to rise up, cactus arms. If it makes sense for your knee, we're going to dive just a little bit deeper. Tucking tailbone. We'll now hold here just for 2 more breaths. When you're ready, shifting back, stretching front leg, maybe flexing foot. Remember, it's not important to get that leg straight necessarily, as long as you're feeling some sensation in the back of that thigh. 1 more breath here. We'll bend into front knee, plant hands, step back into your down dog. Just one breath cycle here in down dog, inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, that right foot steps forward as we drop knees to bring right foot forward. Rising up, finding our balance first. So maybe we need to move that leg just a little bit. On this side, we're going to go into our warrior one arms. Cactus arms also an option. So I'm going to go through warrior and my hands come down to stretch front leg. Inhale to rise up. We'll do 5 of these. Exhale to dive forward. Inhale, reaching. Exhale. Forward 2 more times. Inhale. Now it's always an option just to hang out. If you're not a fan of this flow, the great thing about being on your screen right now is that you can do really anything you want. We're going to dive forward. This last time, bend into knee, arms reach, shoulders melt down. Let's hold here for 3 breaths. Deep inhales and exhales. When you're ready to shift on an exhale, letting hands come appropriately. They might be on the knee. We might not be fully stretching that leg. 2 more breaths here. We'll bend into the front knee, plant the hands, press back into your down dog. And when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and walk the feet towards the hands. We'll use those arms reaching wide to inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees as we dive forward. We're going to plant hands, step, hop, walk, or jump back into your down dog or a version of down dog, which might also look like child's pose. Deep inhales and exhales here. We're trying to press into the thumb and index finger. Maybe we soften knees, especially if we have those tight hamstrings. We're more concerned with getting the heart closer to the thighs than getting straight legs. On your next exhale, we're going to take your left foot and step it between the hands. We'll cartwheel up into your first warrior 2. Once again, maybe we take that foot wider. If as you cartwheeled up, your knee is going beyond your ankle, you can probably scooch this foot a little bit further back. Looking over those front fingers, you're going to move a little bit here through dancing warrior. So elbow comes down to that front knee. Those back arm, lots of choices. Behind, low, up towards the ceiling, or all the way over. We'll rise into our warrior 2, and then we're going to exalt the warrior. So coming back, warrior 2. Letting elbow come down, hand goes appropriate. We'll rise back up, warrior 2, and find exalted warrior. So thinking here about breath as elbow comes down, we inhale. We exhale back into warrior 2. Inhale into our exalted warrior. Exhale. Back into warrior 2. 2 more times. Inhaling, side angle. Exhale. Inhale, exalted warrior. Exhale, warrior 2. Last time. We bring elbow down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale, warrior 2. Pause here, bring your hands to your hips, and we're going to take those hips and turn them forward. So I'm going to adjust my back foot until I can get my hips aiming, pardon me, towards the front. Once I'm here, warrior 1 arms, or cactus arms. We're going to move through straightening the front leg where the hands dip down by your side and bending into front knee where we rise up into our version of warrior one. We'll exhale to dip forward 5 of these. Inhale to rise up. Exhale. And inhale, moving with breath. Exhale. And inhale, we pause here. Hands come back to cactus. A little squeeze through those shoulder blades. We're careful here to tuck our tailbone, so we're not really arching our back to spill forward. Holding and pausing. If it makes sense and balance is okay, we're going to go for 3 breaths as we dive forward. If balance is challenging, stick with that first one, holding that one for 3 breaths. When you're ready, bend into front knee. Go ahead, bring hands to floor. This time, we're going to press back into down dog and run the dog. So bending one knee and then the other. If running the dog doesn't feel so good through those calves, you can stay still. Couple more. I promise after we finish this next series, we've got some child's pose in our future. All right, we're gonna bring that right foot forward. Planting back foot, we cartwheel up into our warrior two. Find your balance and the space between the feet before we start to flow through. So if we need to, we can walk that front knee out. When you're ready, we go into our side angle. So coming down, making choices with the arm. Anywhere you want to be along this whole line, we rise back up into warrior two and exalt the warrior. We might look up or we might look straight out depending on the neck. Back to warrior two. We'll inhale to come into our side angle. Exhale to rise up, warrior two. Inhale into our exalted warrior. Exhale. Inhale, side angle. Exhale, rise up, warrior two. Inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, side angle. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, warrior two. Last time. We'll inhale, side angle. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, rise up, exalted warrior. We come back to our warrior two, letting hands come to hips. We adjust the hips and the leg so we can rotate hips forward. Options here in our warrior: cactus arms, squeezing elbows, or arms reach. We straighten front leg and let hands fly down by our side. Inhale, rise up, your version of warrior one. Exhale, diving forward. Know that it's okay to hold any of these longer. If you're not a fan of moving through these right now, or your body is giving you messages that says this is not a good idea today. Diving forward on the exhale. 2 more of these. Inhale. And exhale. Last time, inhale, or last time to flow. And exhale. And this time we'll rise up, choice for cactus arms or warrior one arms. 3 full deep inhales. And exhale, shoulders melt down. Tiny tailbone tuck to protect that low back. 1 more breath here. You can stick here, or if balance is okay, we'll take a little dive forward. 3 breaths here. When you're ready, bend into front knee, plant hands, but this time we're going to come down to our tabletop and press back into child's pose. Letting head rest. Some of us might stack fists to get heads to rest. Our elbows might be on and knees and rounding back if knees don't necessarily like child's pose. This opportunity to relax and restore in that energetic system. Hands can come down by your side if you're feeling this in the shoulders, especially after that repetitive movement. You might be feeling it a little more intensely in the shoulders. You can always slide them right down by your side. 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, rise up tabletop. Tuck those toes, press back into down dog. We're gonna step, hobble, walk, or jump, feet towards the hands. Remaining here in that forward fold for just a moment, clasping elbows if that makes sense, shaking head no, nodding head yes. When you're ready, arms will reach to the side. We inhale to rise back up. Looking up at the ceiling, exhale, hands come to heart. I'm gonna let those hands come down. Finding about 3 fingers width between those big toes. Shoulders draw up, back and down. Palms can face forward. They can face your thighs. Pausing here to observe, to notice how you're feeling. Now that's a different practice than a lot of times that I'm instructing you through. You might find it's more appealing or less appealing. It's okay to have those feelings about how you're working through your practice. As you know, I love for you to come and do this hour, but really, we want it to translate out into our world. And so if we have time during the week and you want to pick up a quick practice, even 10 minutes, that sort of flowing through movement, that repetitive movement is a great way to practice yoga. Let's take 2 more breaths here in our mountain pose. And then I'm going to ask you to get your toes pointing both the same direction. You might want to go wide on your mat like I am. We're going to go into a little bit of our forward fold here. Just a reminder for my knee folks, you might want to turn your toes out so your knees match your toes to protect those knees. If it doesn't bother knees, we'll try to get those outside edges of your feet parallel to the outside of the mat. We're going to start with hands at hips and slowly roll down. This first one is soft knees. Some of us are going to stop with elbows right above those knees. Some of us are going to slide hands down towards the ankles. A few of us might even get those hands to the floor where we draw ourselves a little bit deeper by reaching for the back of the mat. We're looking for some sensation of stretch in the hamstrings, the backs of those thighs and the inner thighs. Just pausing here to notice weight. We want to shift weight to the balls of the feet. Now the heels don't have to lift, but that does change what's happening in the backs of those legs. Just 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, everybody, slide your hands right to the crease of your thighs. Use an exhale to protect that back, to slowly roll up. We'll take hands to reach behind. I might be able to grab hold of fingers, wrists, or elbows. And I'm squeezing elbows together to open my heart center. So not so much that my hip bones come forward, that my heart expands. We're going to do 1 more of those. We're going to add in a little bit, but you are certainly welcome to stick with what we just did if that suits you for today's practice. So when you're ready, hands come to hips. We'll slowly round down, soft knees. Some of us might pause with elbows on knees, and again, some of us might get down to ankles. If you're able to get to your mat this time, palms rest underneath your forehead.
we're gonna revolve here. So I'm gonna leave my right hand on the floor, and I'm gonna inhale to lift my left hand. Now, if you're at elbows, you can do the same thing, soft bent knees as that arm reaches. If this is interesting in the neck, rather than looking up towards ceiling, keep your gaze down on the hand. Just a couple more breaths here. And then on your next exhale, hand comes down. We place that left hand, right arm reaches. Noticing weight again. Is it in the balls of your feet or in the middle of your feet? Is it hanging out in the heels? Could we get it more to the middle or to the balls of the feet? Letting hands come down. All of us releasing head forward. Pausing here for 2 breaths. Let's use an exhale this time, sending your hands to the crease. We're going to protect that back, soft knees. Exhaling to roll up. We'll counterbalance that by either sliding to grab hold of fingers, wrists, elbows, to open hearts. We're going to heel toe, coming back to face the front of your mat. Arms come down, give yourself a little bounce, a little wiggle. We are getting ready for balance. So if you need to hang on to something, wall, couch, whatever's handy, you may want to walk your way over to that before we find our stable, strong legs. Let's give ourselves 3 fingers between those big toes. So we're looking down. And give yourself a little wiggle inside and out. So we really want to feel those feet grounding. If it's helpful, you can even, what I do call surprise toes. You can pull those toes off, and the fun part is try to land those toes from the pinkies to the big toe. We might do that one more time, pulling toes off and trying to land from the outside in. Soft knees, eye center with hands at heart. You might center with arms reaching out in a different way. So we're going to pause here to notice weight in both feet before we make a shift. When you're ready, we're going into tree pose. So we're going to shift weight to your right foot. Left knee rotates out. Now this is also a hip opener. So we are trying to push that back of the knee against a wall, an imaginary wall. We might leave toes on. We might be able to pull toes off. We might have the sole of the foot on. There's going to be a few of us who bring that sole of the foot to the inner thigh. Today, leaving hands right where they are at, but asking yourself if you could lower your eyelids just a little bit, taking away visual information. Now I'm not fully closing, and I'm trying not to dip my chin. My chin stays parallel with the floor if possible. I'm just noticing this balance experience as we take a little bit of that eyesight away. When you're ready, that foot comes down. Give yourself those 3 fingers between those toes. Give everything a little wiggle and a bounce so we're nice and loose. We tend to get really not only strong, but really tight when we're holding that balance. We're going to shift over to that left side. Right knee rotates out as if the back of the knee could be against a wall behind it. Deciding if toes on is great, if we like toes coming off, or sole of the foot coming to shin. When you're ready, if you can, lowering your lids, but not fully closing your eyes, and trying not to lower your head. And noticing how that can challenge balance. We'll bring that foot to the floor. Give yourself that wiggle and a balance. So the invitation now is to play with your balance a little bit. And know that nobody can see you, so nobody's paying attention to where you're at with your balance. So as we're shifting through that fundamental side and knee opening, maybe you want to use arms to sway. Maybe you want to shift that knee in and out. Perhaps there's another balance besides tree that you prefer. So play with the balance a little bit, enough that it gets you out of balance.
So hands come to heart or centering in a way that makes sense for you. We're going to shift first to that right leg and deciding what you want to do with that opposite foot. And playing around here just a little bit, careful with the low back, but maybe we open arms, maybe they sway, maybe I close eyes, maybe I shift that knee in and out to see how that changes my balance. Any way that is bringing some kind of challenge to this really strong, stable position. And at some point, hopefully with all of those challenges, you're going to fall out of balance. Coming back to both feet on, hands come to heart. We shift weight to the left side. And again, playing with this side. How can you send yourself just a little bit intentionally out of balance? Anything that makes it just a little bit crazy. When you found the space and the playfulness is ready to end, we'll come back to mountain pose. No hurry, I'm going to give you a few moments here. Mountain pose, soles of the feet on, really connected and noticing the soles of the feet. If it's helpful to draw shoulders up, back and down with palms facing forward. This last moment here while we're standing to check in, maybe noticing how you're feeling now as compared to the beginning of class. Noticing any internal experiences that might be asking for your attention. When you're ready, we're going to come have a seat. Doesn't have to be fancy. How do we get there? If you happen to have blocks handy, now's a great time to grab your blocks or a pillow. If those are not handy, we'll have lots of options in order to be able to sit a little bit more comfortably. We're going to start with legs extended out into our letter V. That can be really challenging for hip structure. So we might actually end up bending our knees and sending the soles of the feet on. So that is an option, especially for the gentlemen in the crowd, because your hips are just a little bit different than ours, or a whole lot different than women's. So it's a little harder to sit with this full external rotation. Once you found your spot, if you have your legs straight, we're gonna flex those feet, drawing toes back towards the knees. And we'll let our hands come towards center. And this includes those of us who have our knees bent. On our inhale, we're going to grow a little longer and taller. On our exhale, for those of us who are out in a V, we might be able to hinge forward. For those of us with bent knees, we're going to start to round forward. We pause and we notice, is there a little bit more to be gained? And if there is, we use our exhale to find that little bit more. Our little bit more may be upright and we're feeling just fine, and let's stick there. So taking 3 or 4 breaths here to experience the pose in a way that makes sense for your body today. When you inhale, we rise back up, long, tall spine, sliding your feet towards each other. Give those knees a little bounce and a little shake from side to side. We're going to do a bit of a twist and an opening here. So I'm going to send some folks on their way, and I'll come back with some adaptations to make it a little easier for hip joints. So we begin, for those of us who are able to sit in crisscross because our hip structure allows us to, we're going to begin with our right shin on the outside.
And then I'm gonna decide if I can get my elbow down to my thigh, or it might be my palm. I might be able to come a little further forward and rest my elbow, or my forearm, I should say, on the mat. And once I'm there, I use my hand to press in to twist. So pausing there. For those of us who it's really tough to sit crisscross, we've got really high knees, we go back out to little straighter legs. So my legs are straight. For those of you who are in crisscross, you're going to continue to twist. And I'm just going to use my hands to twist to look over to the right. So finding the space where we can twist in a way that we're getting that spine twist. For those of us in that crisscross, we're getting a little bit more opening in some different areas. Grounding through that forearm, or using the palm on those straighter legs to give yourself a little deeper twist. We'll rise back up through center. For those of us in crisscross, we switch it out. Left leg comes out now. For those of us who have those straight legs, we're going to twist the same direction as us. We're going to take our right arm, right forearm, or right palm onto those straight legs. We ground through that forearm wherever it makes sense. So maybe palm is up. It might be resting on legs. It might be down on the mat as we twist. If you're in that seated pose, we've got that right hand helping us twist to look over to that left side. Breathing here fully. Try and expand perhaps into some space where you feel stretch or release. Sometimes it's tension in that rib cage area. And then we'll all return back through center, extending legs out and give them a little wiggle. I'm going to turn sideways. We're going to do a bit of a shoulder opener here. My caution to anybody working with rotator cuff stuff today, if that's the case for you, you might do the opposite where you're rounding forward, no pressure on elbows, no opening through that heart. You can open the back side of the body. If shoulders are going to allow you today to come into this, I'm going to bring my elbows down. So for me, if I get elbows closer, I get a little more opening. But for some of us, your elbows wider might give you a little bit more opening. So making adjustments how you can here. Bring those big toes to touch and flex your feet. I'm going to press through elbows as I open up. Now for me and neck issues, it's not a good idea for me to drop my head back. If you have been practicing that and it is part of what you've been doing in your yoga practice, invite yourself to drop your head back and look behind you. Those of us with neck challenges, we're going to stick with our chin, nodding and looking at the toes. Just 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, we're all going to release down to the floor. Give yourself a little hug as you draw knees in toward your chest, letting yourself rock side to side. We'll go ahead, bring hands right on top of those knees. We're going to do a little bit of what I call a hip stir. I'm going to sneak. Not a hipster, but a hipster. We're going to bring palms right onto knees. And we're separating knees and drawing them back together. So each knee is making its own circle. We're going to let them separate. And we're using hands, if we can, to move legs at least more than our leg muscle is trying to use or trying to fire here to move our legs. So think of legs as really floppy and arms are doing the work here. So we're just circling away and back together with those kneecaps. We'll do 2 more in this direction. It's a nice little hip ease or relaxation in that hip joint. Reverse your circles. So knees still doing their own individual circles, arms still trying to move those knees. Let's do 1 more.
And then we're gonna pause. We're gonna stretch those outside hips. I have two options here. I'm gonna turn just a little bit sideways because I know a few of you are gonna take that second option, knowing your hips. The first one is we take our right ankle and cross it over the top of the left. Once we're there, we might feel plenty of stretch, or we might dive underneath, or in between, I should say, those thighs to draw knees in. And I'm gonna turn just a little bit more. For some of us, that doesn't provide a lot of stretch because our hip socket is such that we could really push that knee away. So to increase the stretch there, we're gonna stack our knees, think shoelace if we're in yen. And then I'm gonna grab hold of my ankles, and I might hang out with them a little bit closer to my thighs. I might extend that stretch by flexing my feet and sending my ankles further away. Either version, the sensation we're really looking hopefully to start to sense is maybe an opening through the outside of the thigh. We might feel it in the bun cheek. Some of us might notice it really intensely in the inner thighs. We are in a sense of compression through those inner thighs. A little longer hold here, stubborn area. So we're going to see if we can kind of breathe through this area and invite it to become more pliable. About 5 more breaths. We're going to release to send legs up towards the ceiling, soften knees, give them a little wiggle, a little shake, or maybe you're like a baby throwing a fit. And then we're going to reverse sides, or do the other side, I should say. So your sides don't have to match. You can take this where you would like to take it. We might start with the foot on the floor and that ankle crossing over. We might draw the leg in. There may be some of us who stack those knees, grab hold of the ankles, and decide how far out you'd like to go those heels to go in order to sense this opening or release. Allowing some deep inhales and exhales. I know we're squishing that belly a little bit. Sometimes that forces breath into other spaces. In this case, maybe into that side body, those right and left side rib cages. 4 more breaths here. When you're ready, we'll all release soles of the feet to floor. Walk your feet pretty wide, and if you will, start a pretty big rock side to side. So just gently moving, a little more opening and space between those inner thighs so we can get a little deeper into this release. And we'll slide those feet back towards each other. For my folks who are either shoulder stand or plow folks, this is your opportunity to go into shoulder stand or plow. For those of us who have neck challenges or other challenges today, and it makes more sense to be in bridge pose, join me in bridge pose. I'm going to start with hands down by my side, thinking about my belly lifting straight up towards the ceiling. I'd like the weight to be between my shoulder blades, not so much through the back of the neck or the head. I might be able to press into big toes to lift a little bit higher. And depending on shoulders and length of arm, you might be able to reach hands underneath and squeeze those shoulder blades even closer together. Reversing a little bit of energy here in the body. I think there might be one of you who does a full wheel pose. I always forget to mention that. You're welcome here to go into a full back bend. Let's do 3 more breaths, no matter where you're at.
For those of you in shoulder stand and plow, you begin to release. For those of us in our bridge, wrap those arms around if you can, melt down one vertebrae at a time. We all counterbalance that with knees drawing in towards chest or towards underarms, and give yourself a little rock side to side. We are going to do fish today. And I always like to recommend, if fish is not familiar to you, it's okay to skip, especially if you're working with some shoulder stuff today or neck stuff today. This might be the one that you just want to hang out here with knees into chest. If you are joining me in fish, I'm going to extend my legs nice and long. My palms face down, and I slide my arms underneath my buns. So some of us are going to meet waistband. My fingertips tend to go a little bit further just based on the length of my arms. This is all about elbows. We're going to press our big toes together. I'm going to use my elbows to press up, and then I very gently let my head drop back. So light pressure on the top of the head. Definitely a throat opener. This one always makes me cough a little bit. Breathing fully here, opening that throat chakra and the heart chakra. Weight is in our elbows and palms. Very light pressure on the head. You would be able to have a conversation here. If any of that is feeling counterintuitive, knees back into the chest. One more breath here. When you're ready, nod your chin to look down at those toes. Allow those shoulder blades to come back to rest. We'll slide the hands out. And I always like to give a little bit of a fist pump just to make sure elbows are feeling okay. And we'll counter that again with knees drawing in, that counterbalance. That's a pretty deep back bend. If Happy Baby is appealing to you, this is a great place to go into Happy Baby. Maybe hands are behind thighs, shins, ankles, insides or outsides of those feet. Knees into chest, also okay. Fully breathing here. Bringing a little more ease into the body, or the idea of ease into the body with the breath. Two more breaths here. We'll release feet back to the floor for a moment as those feet come to floor, reaching arms overhead to stretch, or maybe you are in 90-degree arms, giving the head a gentle shake one direction and then the other, just releasing any shoulder tension any of those inversions may have created for us, any neck tension as well. We're going to be moving into a twist. Options are to keep knees stacked and drop over to one side. We might cross your left thigh over the top of the right thigh for twisted roots. Give yourself a little lift up, a little twist midair as the knees drop over. There may be a few of you who prefer knee only, so that left knee draws in while the right leg stays nice and long. If twisting's not recommended today, join me in constructive rest pose. You're gonna see me not twist today. I have a fun back going on right now. So my feet are gonna go wide, my knees are gonna drop towards each other, and I'm just gonna allow myself to give myself a bear hug. If that's tension releasing, if it's adding tension, let the hands come down by your side. Now for those of you in your twist, if you've dropped those knees to the right side, and you'd like to add a double twist to your spine, lift the head and look over to the left, and then lower the head down. Letting the body breathe itself here. Inviting ease with that exhale. Maybe expansion with the inhale. Let's give ourselves 3 more breaths on this side. When you're ready to exhale next, knees come back through center, maybe a little rocking side to side. Sides don't have to match. So maybe as you're going left, knees are stacked. This time it would be the right thigh on top to drop over to the left, or the right knee drawing in to drop over. And again, join me in constructive rest pose if twisting is not recommended today. For those of you who would like to add that double twist to the spine, we lift the head, we look over to the right this time, and allow the head to come to rest. Breathing into expansion, exhaling into ease. With your next exhale, drawing knees back to center. Giving yourself whatever you might need here to wiggle. Maybe it feels good to rock knees side to side. Perhaps you're wanting to draw knees into chest or even stretch legs long. We're going to begin to move in to our final relaxation. I'm going to come to sit up. The invitation is to find a space that feels relaxing to you. I also recognize some of you may need to click on out to head out into your day. See if you can give yourself at least a few minutes here to rest in ease, and then we'll see you next time. For those of you who are coming into a space of ease, it does not have to look like a yoga pose. It can be anything. Anything where you feel like today you can bring the most ease into the body. If you've cooled down, you might want to grab socks, or you might want to grab your sweatshirt. And as you're beginning to find that space of ease for yourself, give yourself that nice deep inhale and that longer exhale, releasing into the weight of the body. Inhaling fully, exhaling deeply with ease in that weight of the body. Today we have hit it pretty hard. We've moved through and flowed. I wanted to make sure we had a little extra time to rest in ease, because sometimes what's happening is we're going through and maybe working either a little more vigorously or in a way that we're not always used to. We've released some stuff, and stuff could be physical, it could be emotional and mental, and we want to make sure we give ourselves some time to rest here in ease. So whatever may be going on internally can settle, can release if need be, and come back to a space of balance. So today we are going to be resting in silence. And that too can be its own challenge. So I'm going to guide you through maybe just first few minutes of ways to be resting in ease and silence. We'll come out of that. We'll do a bit of pranayama, breath work at the end. So as we've found our settled space, take a moment here just to notice any sound your ears may be hearing, the touch of the air on your skin, any smells or tastes that might be present.
And then allowing that awareness just to travel to the breath for a moment. Noticing the in breath and the out breath without changing it. And then we allow that notice of the breath to release. The body breathing itself. No effort to breath. The breath travels as it chooses. We invite the thinking mind to quiet, and often that looks more like longer pauses between thoughts. For these last few minutes of class, we invite ourselves to let go of all of the doing of this hour, the doing of our morning, and inviting ourselves to just simply be, to be resting here in ease, perhaps a sense of well-being, maybe even to be resting here in relaxation. Beginning to bring awareness back to the sound of my voice, back to the space in which you're resting. Inviting that deeper inhale and that longer exhale. Beginning to reawaken the body, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, circling wrists and ankles. It might feel good to stretch arms overhead. It might feel good to draw knees into the chest. In your own way and your own time, we're going to begin to bring ourselves back into a seated position that feels comfortable to you. So take your time. It can be any seated space that feels good. As you come to that comfortable seat, we're going to practice just a little 3-part breath today. It kind of complements our breath of joy when we think of the 3 parts: belly, chest, throat, and nose. The inhale comes from the bottom up and travels from the top down. So the idea is that as I begin to inhale, I feel my belly expand. I feel it expand into my chest and in through the nose. And as I exhale, I feel it release from nose, chest, down to belly. And so we're going to do about 3 breaths together, and then we'll do several on our own. So fully exhaling here. We begin to inhale from belly, chest, up through nose. And then as we exhale, nose, chest, and belly. Inhaling belly, chest, and nose. Exhale, nose, chest, and belly. One more time together. Inhaling belly, chest, and nose. Exhaling nose, chest, and belly. Let's do 5 more breaths in your own time. Inhaling from the bottom up, exhaling from the top down. One more breath. And then just returning to a few deep inhales and exhales as the body would like to breathe. And then noticing how you're feeling here at the end of class. How are you feeling in the physical body? How are you feeling in the emotional and mental bodies? If this gesture feels okay to you, we'll place palms together, resting thumbs right in front of our heart. May all be well. May all have peace. And may we all be filled with compassion and loving kindness. The light in me is honored and grateful for the light in each of you.
I bow to you. Namaste.